Hey, what's up, guys? So, welcome back. It's another video. Here we just talk football and a whole lot of football. That's what we do. I was sitting and I was thinking last night, right? I was just thinking to myself that, snap, man. There's a lot to be grateful for Orlando Pirates. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot to be grateful for, and I'm not even an Orlando Pirates supporter. I'm not an Orlando Pirates fan. I love South African football. But there is a lot to be grateful for them for. And the reason why I say there's a lot for them to be grateful for is because uh, we have now another talking piece we can talk about throughout the season. And South African football is now at a place where people are talking, people are excited. You go to the garage, you go to work, you go to whether you go to a party or you go to family gatherings or whatever. But now there's that conversation that is happening where it's not only just the one that you talk about. Now there is another one that you are talking about. The fact that people are making content, the fact that people are now YouTubers, podcasters, journalists. Now it's very interesting space to be in within South African football. And what's funny? I rewind back to a time, and you guys will remember it. You'll remember this time as well. Jorge, remember that time when Sundowns have won the last 8 league titles? Of course, they've been dominating in the league space without a shadow of a doubt. But remember, there was a time where even like Bito was winning a treble, a domestic treble, I think, and then also Rolani and Mangoba as well. They were also winning the cups too that they were winning. And there was a point where people always just kept on referring to the fact that where's the financial fair play? This is boring. This is this. Like it's just Mamelodi Sundowns. People kept talking about that, even having to want to implement financial fair play, having to want to implement the fact that like, oh, but Sundowns is their finances, they're the ones that they're only winning and stuff. And people were complaining with regards to that. I don't know if you guys remember that. And it's crazy how because of Orlando Pirates, that conversation is not happening anymore. It's not happening anymore. Like it doesn't happen as much anymore. Nobody's now complaining now. Now people are just going on the rail of, oh, but Sundowns don't look the same now, or Sundowns don't play the same now, or Sundowns don't, they're not that scary anymore. Now people are talking in that nature. Where was the conversation when you guys were going on about the whole financial fair play thing? And it's because Orlando Pirates are closing the gap. They're closing the gap. You go 3 seasons back, I think. Not last season, the previous one, they were like 23 points behind. Last season, they were 12. Now, you just find themselves having to be 3 points and 2 games in hand on Mamelodi Sundowns. Now, you find Orlando Pirates that are winning cups. They're winning cups, and when you look at on the domestic trail, or even if you look at on trophy success, I think Orlando Pirates in the last couple of years have more trophies than what Mamelodi Sundowns have. Yes, Sundowns have the league. That's the prestigious one. That's the one that everybody would like. But when you count the trophies, you're thinking like, wow, in the last maybe 3 years or something, Orlando Pirates is beating them on that front. And that also goes to the fact that Orlando Pirates have reached eight domestic finals since 2022. Can you imagine? And having to win 6 of them. But I think the rise of Orlando Pirates is the reason why we don't make excuses like financial fair play anymore. We don't make excuses like that. We don't say Sundowns is dominating because of the money. Does Mamelodi Sundowns have resources? Of course they have resources. Of course. But what Orlando Pirates been able to do is to show that with regards to their structures and having to have a plan, this is what can happen. And not only even that with regards to Orlando Pirates, it's the fact that they've now started to believe in the youth. They've started to bleed in the youth as well. We're starting to see stories like a TLB. A TLB that I look at it, I'm just like, shucks, I don't know when last did I see a player who was a teenager and who was defending like that. I don't know when last I saw that. I think this kid after World Cup, guys, there's going to be a lot of shooters. I can definitely tell you because I put that kid. I can put that kid up against probably any defender in the world. Like in terms of South Africa, if someone had to ask me, like South Africa wise, nah, which defender can you trust against probably any attack in the world? Firstly, I'd say it's Mudau, Kulusu Mudau. But if Kulusu Mudau is not there, I want that boy there. I want that boy there. I want him to be the one that's like, okay, show us what you can do. Show us what you can do. So I would say TLB, no doubt, the Relem Fugeng, he's become the president of AMA 2000. Yes, he's had a dip in form this season, and he's not playing in the way they would like. But of course, you got to factor in the fact that the reports of him having to go to Barcelona and this, it can affect the kid, man. It can really affect the kid. But the fact that he's come in, he smiled, he provided assist the other day from Butuma, it's great to see a story like him where now other kids are now starting to get opportunities too. The fact that Mohamed Kota, who was around, he's a Bafana regular now. He's a Bafana starter. When you look at that right wing, it seems like it's his. It's his position, no doubt, and he's going to be there. And he's gone to Saudi. He's gone to change his life, and I hope that he develops to be a better player. Danson is also coming in, but those factors that Orlando Pirates are doing is where you say to yourself, like, snap. It's a great story to see. It's a really great story to see. The one blemish you probably would have on Orlando Pirates this season is the fact that they got knocked out of CAF early. Having to get knocked out of CAF early because you just know that I think they're strong enough to really go into the knockout stages. They showed that even last season, to having to go to the semifinals. And one thing Mamelodi Sundowns deserves their credit for is the fact that they started this whole thing. They started to try and conquer in Africa. They started to try no, we want to be the powerhouses, yeah, Africa. So the fact that Orlando Pirates is also pushing on only makes South African football much stronger. It only makes South African football much stronger. And you see it even in the Bafana realm. And that's another conversation with regards to Bafana. You know, there was a time when Bafana was like obviously winning and Hugo Bush was winning and well still winning, I guess. But like the AFCON success and not losing too many games. And people always reference it down to just say, oh, without Sundowns, this coach ain't nothing. Oh, without Sundowns, this coach ain't this, or this team is not that, or it's not as strong, or whatever. Now you have an influx of Orlando Pirates players that are coming into the side. So what is the narrative now? Is the narrative without Orlando Pirates we can't perform? We can't do this, we can't do that. Instead of having to give credit to the coach, instead of having to give credit to South African football in terms of where it has come. And that's the credit I believe. I look at Orlando Pirates and say, you know what, even though I don't support you guys, the fact that you started to come up with a plan, the fact that you started to come up with a structure, the fact that you started to take cups seriously, the fact that you started to give youth a chance, it's boded well for South African football. It has. It has boded well for South African football, guys. And that's the one thing I have to give credit to Orlando Pirates and what they have done, and they deserve their flowers at this current point because it feels like with the Jose Rivero appointment, that was the change. That was the we need to start doing things a little bit different. And you know what's funny? I put out a post saying that Orlando Pirates in the last since 2022 reached 8 domestic cup finals, right? And having to win 6 of them. And there was someone in the comments that was saying, yo, but remember there was a time when Orlando Pirates used to bottle finals. And there were. And people will reference the officials, will reference the ref and this. And of course, it's banter. That's what happens. But in the spectrum of things, not just only having a Sundowns that's trying to push for success and gunner for success and try to do the most. The fact that we have another club in the situ that is trying to do the same thing has helped. And I want to give honorable mentions to like a Stellenbosch in terms of the way that they're developing players, in terms of the way that they lose players all the time and players go on with their careers and all that. So they deserve an honorable mention. TS Galaxy deserves an honorable mention as well in terms of also them, the way they're developing players and moving on. Tim Sugazi, you're doing a brilliant job with regards to the coaches you bring in and the players and the talents that you're doing as well. And it's just nice to see a situation where South African football is in a very good space. We have just qualified for the World Cup. We're going to the AFCON. And even with the AFCON, the last one was I would have been very happy with a Bafana that made it to the knockout stages at the last AFCON. I was like, if they make it there, then look, they've done me right. But now we go into this AFCON tournament feeling like, snap, is there a chance we could win it? Is there a chance we could win it? But I don't want this to go away from the main point that I'm trying to make here. Orlando Pirates, I'm actually grateful. I'm grateful that they're doing the most. I'm grateful that they started to become more serious with regards to their football and the club that they have. Even the graphics. Have you seen what they're doing on the graphics front in terms of social media? They're the best. They make stories, they make these jokes, they do the banter, it's great. And the Bucks camp and the documentaries that they have, it's improving and something is going right there. And something is going right there. So I'm looking at the overall picture. I'm not necessarily just looking at the fact that, oh, but they are not winning the league. Oh, they are not winning the league. If I said to you that Orlando Pirates could win the league this season, it's not far fetched. That statement is not far fetched. I still think Sundowns are favorites to win the league, but it's not far fetched to think that Orlando Pirates can win the league. And the numbers are proving it as so, and the clean sheets are proving it as so. But the cup slide, you give it to them, no doubt. And I want to end it off with this. What Orlando Pirates are showing, because before it was Sundowns, the resources, the finances, and stuff. Does Orlando Pirates have resources? Of course. Do they have finances? Of course. But nobody would have put it to the levels of Mamelodi Sundowns. But what Orlando Pirates is showing, it's showing that can't other teams also do it? You telling me Chiefs can't do that? You telling me a Cape Town City can't do that? Or can't be sort of like pushing in within those realms? Maybe be the number 3 or something like that. Cape Town City, Kaizer Chiefs, Sekhukhune United, they trying to push. Amazulu as well. Amazulu. We should be Amazulu. Golden Arrow, Stellenbosch. I mean, Stellenbosch, man, I mean, they lose players every single year. But my point that I'm trying to make here is that if you get plans and structures right into place, this is what could come out of it. And maybe even us as South Africans, instead of just always looking at the top all the time, maybe sometimes, just maybe sometimes, we need to just demand more from the others. We need to demand more from the others. And that's what Orlando Pirates has proved. Let me know what you guys think. And I hope you have a great day, a great week, a great month. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate everybody who watches this. Subscribe, please. It's a pleasure.